welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll be discussing Addiction by JIRAC. Now before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled on this Manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. Now for those of you left behind, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to sextortion and or blackmail, violence, dubious consent, child abuse, child neglect, bullying, PTSD, and sexual assault, as these things do appear in the manhwa. Now if all that's good for you, let's go ahead and get started. As always, let's start with a quick synopsis. Kim Ho is on the prowl. He may look like a human, but he's far from it. He's actually part of a species of foxes that once owned large swaths of territory that humans have since taken over. To survive, the foxes have integrated into human society in the areas they once ruled and go on the hunt for mates in clubs. Ho is doing his duty for his species by mating with someone in the club bathroom, but a wolf breaks down the stall door just before he can complete his mission. As it turns out, wolves also used to own territory in this area and had to fight for the same territory as the foxes. The alpha wolf, Han Sarong, happens to be the one to come upon Ho in the throes of passion. As soon as he figures out what Ho is doing, Sarong, to gain the upper hand, takes a photo of Ho mid-coitus and threatens him with the image. Unable to do anything else, Ho goes along with Sarong's demands, primarily sexual in nature, all the while trying to figure out how to get rid of the image so he can be free of Sarong's influence. But what started as a game for Sarong appears to be becoming something more. Now, the art falls into that middle area for me. Sometimes I really like it, but other times I'm not a fan. Mainly, I'm not a fan of how long the faces are. They are long, and I'm just not a fan of that in particular. However, I really enjoy the choice of this being in black and white with the occasional use of color in their eyes. I find that to be a very powerful choice. I also really enjoy the rough and sketchy nature of the artwork. This is a very dark series, and that's only highlighted by the style of the art in the series. Unfortunately, though, almost every character in this suffers from same face syndrome. Most of the wolves are indistinguishable from each other, which is very confusing, to say the least. The ending to the main story also isn't that great. The romance is a bit of a whirlwind, with Sarong and Ho going from a coercive and forced relationship to suddenly confessing their love for each other. However, it ends with Sarong busting into the bathroom to stop Ho from being raped. Based on Sarong's narration leading up to that moment, though, it seems he thought Ho was willingly having sex with this other person and couldn't fight against the expectations of breeding for their species. They meet each other's gaze in the bathroom stall, and then it ends. That's it. That's the end of the main story, which is painfully disappointing to say the least. I imagine that's part of the reason they created the side stories, so we could get to see them reconcile and finally confirm their relationship, but I hate that we had to get a side story with that and not have it solved via the main story. What's even worse about the side stories, though, is they reconcile away from that initial scenario. We don't see the fallout from that ending scene. We don't have any context on what happened after or anything like that. The reader's just thrown into a moment where the foxes are planning a trip. The wolves are being invited along with them, and Ho works to get close to Sarong again. They don't mention what their current relationship is or what happened following the run-in at the club, nor do we have any clarity on the situation between the foxes and wolves now. It's not even all that clear what the problem is between the wolves and foxes in the main story. We're repeatedly told that they shouldn't mix together and they try to avoid each other, but there's really no reason why. There's also mentions of a grandfather on the wolf side who would disapprove of Sarong's relationship with Ho. However, we never see the grandfather, nor do we get any clarity on what the grandfather's role is in the pack. We're just missing a lot of context. Now, with that being said, this isn't one I would recommend, which I don't feel like I say very often. The story and art are rough, and there isn't enough sex to make up for all of that. It has a ton of potential, but it isn't executed very well. I wish it were longer and more time was given to world building, but here we are. There is an all-ages version, which I can't imagine is much better, especially since it's everything I mentioned, but without the added bonus of sex. So, yeah. So, have you read Addiction? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know and comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!